I slammed my phone down onto the table, my jaw tightening as I read the text for the third time. I'm so sorry, Alan, but Justin and I just have this connection. I hope you understand. Understand? Oh, I understood perfectly. Justin had stolen yet another one of my girlfriends. 6. That was 6 times now. Different girls, different stories, same outcome. I clenched my fists and paced around my apartment, my mind spinning in circles. How did this keep happening? What was it about Justin that made every single one of my girlfriends drop me for him? I wasn't an idiot. I knew he did it on purpose. The smug way he looked at me every time I passed him in the hall, the way he always showed up with my exes like they were trophies. At first, I convinced myself it was just bad luck. Maybe the girls just liked him more. Maybe I wasn't enough. But no, that was a lie I told myself to keep from going insane. The truth was much simpler. Justin was doing this deliberately. He wanted to take everything from me, and I was sick of it. I grabbed my jacket and stormed out of my apartment. My feet carried me straight to the place I knew I'd find him, our usual bar. It was Friday night, and Justin never missed a chance to bask in the attention of his latest conquest. Sure enough, as I stepped inside, my eyes locked onto him immediately. He was leaning casually against the bar, laughing, his arms slung around her shoulders. Emma, my now ex-girlfriend. The sight of them together made my stomach twist in knots. I marched straight toward them, my heart hammering in my chest. Justin. He turned at the sound of my voice. And there it was, that damn smirk. The one that told me he knew exactly why I was here, and he was enjoying every second of it. Alan, he greeted smoothly, his tone dripping with fake surprise. Didn't expect to see you here. I ignored his act and cut straight to the point. What the hell is wrong with you? My voice was sharp, each word laced with anger. 6 times, Justin. 6. Do you really have nothing better to do than steal every girl I date? Justin raised an eyebrow, his smirk widening. Steal? That's a strong word. I can't help it if they like me more. My hands curled into fists. Bullshit. You don't even keep them. You just take them from me and then move on. It's like a game to you. He took a slow sip of his drink, clearly unbothered by my outburst. And what if it is? He said, tilting his head. What are you going to do about it? My blood boiled. He wasn't even trying to deny it. He was openly mocking me, enjoying my frustration like it was his favorite pastime. I had come here looking for answers, but now I just wanted to wipe that smug grin off his face. I took a step closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear me. You want a game, Justin? Fine. Let's play. His expression flickered for a second, a hint of curiosity beneath his amusement. Oh, and what's your next move, Alan? I didn't have a plan yet. Not really, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to sit back and let him win anymore. Whatever it took, I was going to make Justin regret messing with me. After storming out of the bar, I walked aimlessly through the city streets, my mind a whirlwind of anger and frustration. The cool night air did little to calm me down. Justin's smirk, his mocking tone, it all played in my head on repeat. I had never felt this level of frustration before. It wasn't just about losing another girlfriend. It was about losing to him. Again. But this time, I wasn't just going to sit back and let him enjoy his victory. No, if he wanted to play games, I was going to beat him at his own. I just needed a plan. By the time I reached my apartment, I had already made up my mind. Justin had spent years stealing my girlfriends, but what would happen if I flipped the script? If I made him feel what it was like to lose something he wanted? A smirk tugged at the corner of my lips. I knew exactly what to do. I was going to get a boyfriend. Not a real one, of course. I wasn't about to jump into an actual relationship just to mess with Justin. But a fake boyfriend? Someone to put on a show with? That was perfect. The only question was who? I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Most of my friends wouldn't go along with something like this, but there was one person I knew who would. Ryan. Ryan had been my friend since college. He was charming, funny, and most importantly, he loved drama. If there was ever someone who would get a kick out of helping me mess with Justin, it was him. I dialed his number and waited. After a few rings, he picked up. Alan, you never call this late. What's up? I need your help, I said, getting straight to the point. It's a bit unconventional. There was a pause, then a dramatic gasp. Please tell me you're finally planning some chaos. You never do anything reckless. I rolled my eyes. Let's just say I'm long overdue. Ryan hummed in approval. I like where this is going. Tell me everything. I took a deep breath. I need a fake boyfriend. Another pause. Then laughter. Loud, genuine laughter. Oh my God, Ryan wheezed. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Who are we messing with? Justin. Silence. Then a slow, impressed whistle. Oh, now that's juicy, Alan. I am so in. Tell me the plan. A grin spread across my face. It's simple. You and I are going to make Justin believe we're together. Public displays of affection, flirting, everything. I want him to see it, to think he's lost his chance to mess with me. Ryan made a thoughtful noise. Okay, I see the vision. But tell me, why do you think this will even bother him? The guy steals all your girlfriends. What makes you think he'll care if you're dating a guy? I hesitated. That was the one thing I wasn't entirely sure about. But something in the way Justin had reacted at the bar, the way he had looked when I challenged him, I had a feeling. I don't know, I admitted, but I have a hunch. And either way, I want to throw him off his game. Ryan laughed again. Oh, honey, I am going to be the best fake boyfriend you've ever had. When do we start? I checked the time. It was almost midnight. Tomorrow, we'll go to the bar again, make sure Justin sees us. Done, Ryan said eagerly. Oh, this is going to be fun. As we hung up, I finally felt a sense of satisfaction. For the first time in years, I was going to be the one in control. Justin had no idea what was coming. The bar was packed, the dim lighting and steady hum of conversation setting the perfect stage for what I was about to do. I wasn't nervous, not really, but my hands were slightly clammy as I pushed through the crowd, Ryan walking beside me like this was just another night out. Okay, let's run through this one more time. Ryan said, adjusting the collar of his jacket. You're my wonderful, devoted boyfriend whom I absolutely adore. I rolled my eyes. Just stick to the plan, he smirked. Fine. You take things so seriously. I ignored him and scanned the bar, searching for the person who had been occupying my thoughts for far too long. And then I saw him. Justin. He was leaning against the counter, drink in hand, surrounded by his usual crowd. He looked relaxed, his easy smirk in place as he talked to his friends, like he hadn't just stolen another one of my girlfriends. Like he hadn't done it 6 times before. My fists clenched at my sides. Not this time. Ryan followed my gaze and let out a low whistle. Showtime. We moved toward the bar, making sure to get close enough that Justin would notice us. Ryan, ever the performer, took things up a notch immediately. He reached for my hand, lacing his fingers through mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. I nearly pulled away out of reflex, but I caught myself. This was the plan. I had to commit. Justin turned just as Ryan gave my hand a playful squeeze. His smirk froze. For a moment, he just stared. His usual self-assured expression slipped, replaced by something I couldn't quite place. Shock, confusion, maybe even disbelief. Then, like flipping a switch, he laughed. Well, this is unexpected. I kept my face blank. What is? He gestured between me and Ryan. You two. Since when did this happen? Ryan, ever the opportunist, leaned into me slightly and smiled. A while now, he said smoothly. We just weren't public about it before. Justin's eyebrows shot up. You're joking. Ryan's grip on my hand tightened, and he grinned, tilting his head slightly. Nope. Alan and I are together. I forced myself to nod, keeping my expression as neutral as possible. That's right. Justin's reaction was immediate. His smirk faltered, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked genuinely caught off guard. His eyes darted between me and Ryan, like he was trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't make sense. Then, just as quickly, his expression darkened. You're serious? His voice was quieter now, laced with something sharp. Ryan chuckled. Why is that so hard to believe? Justin's jaw tightened. He scoffed, shaking his head like he thought this was ridiculous. Since when is Alan into guys? I shrugged, pretending to be unbothered. Since when is that your business? His eyes snapped back to me, and for a moment we just stared at each other. The usual smugness in his gaze was gone, replaced by something much more intense. Frustration. Maybe even anger? Ryan gave my arm a light squeeze. Come on, babe, he said casually. Let's grab a table. I nodded and turned to follow, but before I could take a step, Justin spoke again. This is a joke. His voice was low, like he didn't quite believe his own words. I turned back, raising an eyebrow. What? His eyes locked onto mine, searching. You're not dating him. I didn't blink. Yes, I am. His hands clenched at his sides. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by something raw and unguarded. You're lying. Ryan let out an exaggerated sigh. Geez, Justin. You sound almost jealous. Justin's jaw twitched, but he didn't say anything. I held his gaze a second longer before I finally turned away. As Ryan and I walked toward our table, he whispered, That went so much better than I expected. I exhaled slowly, heart still racing. Then, finally, a grin spread across my face. Yeah, I said. It really did. Because for the first time in years, I had finally managed to shake Justin's confidence. And it felt amazing. I shut the door behind me, exhaling deeply as I leaned against it. Tonight had been a victory, better than I could have imagined. Justin's reaction at the bar played in my mind over and over. His shock, his barely contained frustration. The way his cocky smirk had vanished the moment Ryan declared that we were together. I could still see the way his jaw clenched, the slight twitch in his fingers like he wanted to grab me and shake the truth out of me. I won. A grin tugged at my lips as I stripped off my jacket and tossed it onto the couch. The apartment was quiet, the city lights filtering through the window, casting faint shadows across the floor. I stretched, feeling the exhaustion settle in. Time to sleep. Just as I turned toward my bedroom, a sudden sharp knock echoed through the apartment. I froze. It was nearly midnight. Who the hell? Another knock, heavier this time. My stomach twisted with unease as I hesitated for a moment before walking over. I unlocked the door, pulling it open just enough to see, and my breath caught in my throat. Justin. He stood there, his posture loose yet tense at the same time. His dark hair was messier than usual, his shirt slightly wrinkled. But what struck me the most were his eyes, gloomy, unreadable, staring at me like he wasn't even sure I was real. And then the smell hit me. Alcohol. Not overwhelming, but enough to tell me he wasn't sober. My pulse quickened. Justin, I said, my voice laced with disbelief, what the hell are you doing here? He didn't answer. He just looked at me. I swallowed hard, the silence stretching between us thick and heavy. My mind raced with questions. Had he followed me home? Was he still upset from earlier? Are you? I started. But before I could finish, before I could even process what was happening, Justin grabbed me. His hands gripped my shoulders, shoving me back. My back hit the wall with a soft thud, my breath catching from the impact. But before I could even react, before I could push him off, his lips crashed onto mine. My entire world tilted. I couldn't think, couldn't move. The warmth of his mouth, the force of his body pressing against me, it was like being caught in a storm, violent yet intoxicating. His grip on me tightened, like he was afraid I'd disappear if he let go. Heat coiled in my stomach, a rush of adrenaline and something deeper flooding through my veins. Justin is kissing me. The thought barely formed before he deepened it, his lips moving against mine, slow yet urgent. There was no hesitation in the way he kissed me, no second guessing. Like this was something he had decided long ago, and for a moment, just a brief, fleeting moment, I kissed him back. The second my body responded, the second I found myself leaning into him, Justin let out a low, almost desperate sound. His fingers dug into my shirt, pulling me closer, as if he wanted to drown in me completely. It was overwhelming, it was intoxicating. And then, it was over. Justin pulled back, his breathing ragged, his dark eyes still locked onto me. My own breaths came in short gasps, my mind an absolute mess. I stared at him, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened. But Justin didn't explain, didn't apologize, didn't smirk or make a joke. He just looked at me, his expression unreadable. And I had no idea what to do next. The air between us was thick with something I couldn't define. Justin's chest rose and fell unevenly, his hands still gripping the fabric of my shirt as if he wasn't ready to let go. His dark eyes, usually filled with arrogance and smug amusement, were bare now, raw and searching. I swallowed hard, my mind still reeling from what had just happened. The kiss, the desperation in his touch. This wasn't the Justin I knew. The Justin I knew was confident, untouchable. The Justin I knew smirked at me across boardrooms and college classrooms, always one step ahead in our relentless competition. The Justin I knew took whatever he wanted, my victories, my girlfriends, without a shred of hesitation. But the man standing in front of me now was nothing like that. I forced myself to breathe. What the hell was that? Justin's grip on my shirt tightened, but he didn't answer immediately. He just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then his jaw clenched. Are you really with him? His voice was low, almost hoarse. I blinked. What? He swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbing. Ryan, he said, his tone sharper this time. Are you actually with him? A cold weight settled in my chest. So that's what this was about. I had planned for this, for Justin's jealousy, for his frustration, for the moment he realized he couldn't just take something from me this time. But I hadn't planned for this. For him standing in my apartment, looking at me like I was the only thing keeping him from breaking apart. I hesitated. I should have just stuck to the plan. I should have said yes and let him suffer. But something in his expression stopped me. I exhaled, trying to steady my voice. Why do you care? Justin scoffed, running a frustrated hand through his hair. Just answer me. I lifted my chin, forcing myself to stay calm. Yes, I lied. Ryan and I are together. Justin flinched. It was barely noticeable, just a flicker in his expression, but I saw it. And for the first time since I started this revenge plan, I felt something I wasn't supposed to feel. Guilt. Justin let out a sharp breath, shaking his head as if trying to process my words. His fingers curled into fists at his sides. Then suddenly, he laughed. But it wasn't his usual cocky, arrogant laugh. It was hollow. Bitter. Of course, he muttered under his breath. I frowned. Justin, do you have any idea, he cut in, his voice sharper now, how long I've wanted you? I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs, my entire body going stiff. Did I hear that right? I must have misheard. Excuse me? I choked out. Justin let out a shaky breath, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made it impossible to look away. Do you really think I took your girlfriends because I wanted them? He asked, his voice quieter now, but no less intense. I couldn't speak. Alan, he continued, stepping closer, his gaze never wavering. It was never about them. It was always about you. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My mind was screaming at me to say something, to make sense of this, but I couldn't. Justin, my rival, my tormentor, the person who had been stealing my victories since college, wanted me? That didn't make sense. I remembered all the times he smirked at me after winning a deal. All the times he stole what was mine, just because he could. All the times I had convinced myself that he simply wanted to see me suffer. And now he was standing in front of me, looking nothing like the self-assured, cocky bastard I had always known. He looked vulnerable. Justin exhaled, shaking his head as if frustrated with himself. I know I'm a jerk. I know I've done nothing but make your life difficult. He let out a humorless chuckle. I thought, maybe if I pushed things far enough, you'd finally see me. My pulse pounded in my ears. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I know, he admitted, his lips twitching into something almost like a sad smile. But I couldn't help it. I swallowed, my throat dry. Justin, his fingers twitched like he wanted to reach for me again, but he stopped himself. His expression darkened slightly. So is it real? He asked again, his voice quieter now. You and Ryan? I opened my mouth. I could still lie, I should lie, but as I looked at him, this man I had spent years resenting, fighting, competing with, I realized I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I had started this to hurt him. But now I was the one who felt like I couldn't breathe. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Justin stood in front of me, his words still hanging in the air, thick and heavy. I could feel my pulse pounding as I forced myself to take a step back. You're drunk, I said, my voice more unsteady than I wanted it to be. You don't even know what you're saying. Justin shook his head. I do, he insisted. He reached for me again, but before his fingers could graze my arm, his body swayed. I barely had time to react before he slumped forward, his full weight pressing against me. Justin? I stiffened, my hands instinctively catching his shoulders. His breathing was slow, steady, and before I could process what was happening, his head rested against my shoulder. He had fallen asleep. Just like that. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do. His body was warm, and his usually sharp, calculating expression had softened completely in sleep. It was such a stark contrast to the Justin I knew that, for a second, I forgot to breathe. I glanced toward the door. I could still throw him out, leave him to deal with his own mess. But it was the middle of the night. He was clearly out of it. And despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I sighed, shifting my grip so I could support his weight properly. You're unbelievable, I muttered under my breath. With some effort, I dragged him toward my bed and carefully laid him down. His face was slack with sleep, the tension in his brows completely gone. In the dim light, he looked different, softer, almost peaceful. For a long moment, I just stood there, watching him. How did things get to this point? Justin's confession echoed in my mind, refusing to be ignored. It was always about you. I shook my head, trying to shove the thought away. No, this had to be some kind of mind game. Justin never liked losing, and this was just another way to mess with me. It had to be. I pulled the blanket over him, sighing as I ran a hand through my hair. This doesn't mean anything, I whispered, more to myself than to him. With that thought in mind, I climbed into bed on the other side of the room, forcing myself to sleep. The next morning, something smelled good. I groggily blinked my eyes open, sunlight streaming through the curtains. It took a second for my brain to catch up. Wait. The apartment smelled like food. I shot up, eyes darting to the bed across from mine, empty. Instantly on alert, I got out of bed and stepped out of the room. The sight in front of me nearly made me stop in my tracks. Justin was in my kitchen, cooking. He moved with practiced ease, flipping something in a pan, his back turned to me. Steam curled from the dishes already placed on the counter, the aroma rich and mouth-watering. I could make out freshly made eggs, toast, and something else that smelled ridiculously good. For a full minute, I just stood there, unable to say a word. Justin, my rival, the person who had tormented me for years, was standing in my kitchen, making breakfast like it was the most normal thing in the world. As if sensing my presence, he finally turned around. When he saw me, a slow, lazy smile spread across his face. "Morning," he said casually, like we hadn't just gone through the most confusing night of my life. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. For once, I had absolutely no idea how to respond. Justin's smile widened when he saw me standing there. "Go freshen up. Breakfast will be ready." I opened my mouth to say something, maybe to demand why he was acting like this was normal, but then I noticed something. He was wearing my clothes. I blinked. When had he changed? More importantly, when had he woken up? I hadn't even heard him move. Of course, it made sense. He had been drunk last night, so he probably wouldn't have wanted to stay in those same clothes. But still, something about seeing him standing there so casually in my oversized shirt and sweatpants made my brain short-circuit for a moment. I shook my head. No, I was overthinking this. Even if we were rivals, Justin had his own morals. He was just showing gratitude for letting him stay the night. That must be it. Without another word, I turned back to my room to freshen up. By the time I returned to the kitchen, Justin was already sitting at the table, waiting. When he saw me, his expression brightened, and he gestured toward the food. "Come eat." Reluctantly, I approached the table, my eyes immediately drawn to the spread in front of me. My kitchen wasn't exactly well stocked, so I wasn't expecting much. But somehow, Justin had managed to put together an incredibly appetizing breakfast. There were perfectly cooked eggs, golden toast, and even a simple but beautifully plated vegetable stir-fry. I sat down, staring at the meal in disbelief. From across the table, Justin was watching me intently, his expression full of anticipation, like he couldn't wait to see my reaction. For a brief moment, a ridiculous thought crossed my mind. Was the food poisoned? But then the warm, rich aroma hit me, and all my reasoning went out the window. Whatever. I wasn't the one who asked him to cook. If anything, I should take advantage of it. I picked up my fork and took a bite, and instantly regretted it. Not because it was bad. No, because it was too good. The eggs were perfectly seasoned, the toast had just the right amount of crisp, and the stir-fry, despite being made with the limited ingredients I had, was absolutely delicious. Before I knew it, I had devoured my entire plate. It wasn't until I set my fork down that I realized Justin was still watching me. His expression was practically glowing with satisfaction. "How was it?" he asked eagerly. "Did you enjoy the meal?" I froze. For a moment, I had completely forgotten that Justin was here at all. Feeling suddenly self-conscious, I cleared my throat. "It was fine." Justin raised an eyebrow, clearly not satisfied with that answer. I sighed, reluctantly admitting, "It was really good." Justin's eyes lit up. "Really?" I frowned. "Don't look so happy about it." He chuckled, looking entirely too pleased with himself. Then, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, he said, "If you want, I can cook for you every day." I choked. Coughing, I quickly reached for my glass of water, barely managing to swallow without embarrassing myself further. Justin just watched me with amusement, completely unfazed. I wiped my mouth, staring at him. "What the hell is wrong with you? How can you just say things like that?" Justin leaned forward slightly, his smirk returning. "What? I enjoy cooking. And you enjoy eating my food. Sounds like a good arrangement to me." I scowled. "That's not the point." Justin just tilted his head, looking at me like I was the one being weird. I groaned, running a hand through my hair. What the hell is happening? I only wanted revenge. But somehow I had ended up in this situation, having breakfast with my so-called rival, watching him wear my clothes, and listening to him casually offer to cook for me every day. And the worst part? I didn't completely hate it. The silence between us stretched longer than I could bear. The weight of everything that had happened since last night sat heavily on my chest. I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to act casual. "Since you were drunk last night, I'll forgive your behavior," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But don't mess with me anymore, Justin. Let's just live our lives without bothering each other." For a brief second, Justin didn't react. Then his smile faded. Something shifted in his expression. Something deeper, more serious. His sharp eyes locked onto mine, filled with unwavering determination. "I meant what I said," Justin declared. "Even if I was drunk, my confession was sincere." My breath caught. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze never wavering. "I know I handled things badly, but this time I want to do it right. I want to pursue you properly." I was completely dumbfounded. I had spent years seeing Justin as my rival, constantly competing, constantly at odds. The confident, untouchable man I remembered from college was nothing like the person in front of me now. Genuine, vulnerable, and utterly serious. I struggled to find a response, my mind scrambling for a way out of this. "Justin, I'm already in a relationship with Ryan." The words left my mouth in a rush. For a second, I thought that would be enough. That he'd finally back off. But instead of looking even slightly bothered, Justin simply sighed, as if he had been waiting for me to say that. Calmly, he pulled out his phone, turned the screen toward me, and showed me a photo. I froze. It was Ryan, standing beside a woman. They were holding hands. "What? Got a private investigator to check on him," Justin said smoothly. "Just got this report this morning. Turns out Ryan already has a fiancée." My mouth opened, then closed. No words came out. Justin smirked, amused by my stunned silence. "So, I figured you two were faking it. You just wanted to get back at me, right?" I couldn't even argue. I was too shocked. Was this guy right in the head? He actually got a private investigator to spy on Ryan. So my brilliant revenge plan didn't even last a full day. Seeing me speechless, Justin chuckled and set his phone aside. Then he did something that completely threw me off balance. He reached across the table and took my hand. The warmth of his touch sent a jolt through me. "I went too far," Justin admitted, "and I'm sorry. But last night made me realize something. I lost my mind when I saw you with someone else." His fingers tightened slightly around mine. "I don't want to make that mistake again." I stared at him. His dark eyes were steady, filled with an intensity that made my chest tighten. For once, there was no arrogance, no smugness, just honesty. I didn't know how to deal with it. I yanked my hand away, standing up abruptly. I need to get ready for work." Justin didn't stop me. He simply leaned back in his chair, watching with quiet amusement as I scrambled to escape the conversation. I rushed into my room, threw on the first outfit I could find, and grabbed my things. Anything to get out of there before my brain completely shut down. As I headed for the door, Justin's voice followed me. "Have a safe journey," he said with a smile. Then, in a tone that sent a shiver down my spine, he added, "And don't even think about ignoring our conversation. I'm serious about this, Alan." My heart slammed against my ribs. I didn't dare look back. Instead, I practically ran out of the apartment. I stepped into the office, greeted by my colleagues as usual. I tried to maintain my composure, acting like everything was normal, but my mind was a mess. Justin's words from this morning kept replaying in my head. "I want to do this right. I want to pursue you properly." I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. I needed to focus on work. I had no time to waste thinking about him. Just as I was getting absorbed in my tasks, my phone buzzed with a message from my boss, Mr. Harrison, summoning me to his office. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door before stepping inside. Mr. Harrison was sitting at his desk, staring at me with an expression of pure disbelief. That was not a good sign. "Sir?" I asked cautiously. He sighed and leaned forward. "Alan, something unexpected just happened." I stiffened. "What is it?" He rubbed his temples. "Titan Corp reached out this morning. They want to form a partnership with us." I froze. "Titan Corp," I repeated slowly, hoping I had misheard. He nodded. "Yes, as in Justin Carter's Titan Corp." My stomach dropped. Titan Corp had been rising rapidly in the business world, securing one major deal after another. Their influence was undeniable. And now, out of nowhere, they wanted to partner with us? Mr. Harrison let out a chuckle, still looking baffled. "I'll be honest, I thought it was a mistake at first. But after confirming with their representatives, it seems like a genuine offer. This is a huge opportunity, Alan." I felt like I was losing my mind. "And," my boss continued, looking straight at me, "I want you to be the one in charge of this partnership." "What?" I blurted out. "You're one of my most capable employees," he said. "And given your background, I believe you'll handle this well." My background, right? Everyone in the industry knew about my history with Justin. Our families had been business rivals for years. It wasn't exactly a secret. I could already hear the whispers. Why would Justin Carter choose Alan for this? Why Titan Corp? Why now? I swallowed hard. There was no way this wasn't related to last night. But I couldn't refuse. This was my job, and it was an incredible opportunity, so I forced a smile and nodded. "I understand, sir. I'll handle it." As I left the office, my mind was spinning. Justin. Again. I needed to talk to someone. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and called Ryan. He picked up almost immediately. "Alan, what's up? Did our revenge work? Are you inviting me to celebrate?" I hesitated, feeling an odd mix of awkwardness and embarrassment. I took a deep breath. "Justin, confess to me last night." Dead silence on the other end. Then Ryan burst out laughing. "Oh my God," he wheezed. "So that's what this is all about. No wonder that night it looked like he wanted to kill me at the bar." "Stop laughing," I groaned, rubbing my temples. "This is serious." Ryan's laughter only got worse. "Serious? Alan, you're telling me a rich, ridiculously handsome guy who also happens to be a great cook just confessed to you, and you're complaining?" I could feel my headache intensifying. "Think about it," Ryan teased. "He's got money, looks, and even makes breakfast. It's a win-win situation for you." "I regret calling you," I muttered. "Don't be like that," Ryan said between chuckles. "I mean, isn't it kind of funny? You spent all this time hating him, and turns out he just wanted you all along." I didn't respond, because deep down, I was still trying to process it. Ryan sighed. All right, I'll stop teasing. But seriously, Alan, what do you want to do about it?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. I had no idea. "I have work to do," I muttered, avoiding the question. Ryan hummed in amusement. "Sure, keep telling yourself that." I ended the call before he could say anything else. Taking a deep breath, I reminded myself that this partnership was important. It was a big deal for our company, and I had to handle it professionally. I had to focus. Even if the man behind this deal was the same one who kissed me breathless last night. When I stepped into my apartment, the rich aroma of food filled the air, instantly making my stomach growl. I followed the scent to the kitchen, and sure enough, Justin was there, cooking like he belonged here. He moved around effortlessly, as if this wasn't my apartment, but his. He turned around when he heard me, a smile already tugging at his lips. "You're back," he said, like he'd been waiting all day for me. "How was your day?" I blinked, caught off guard by the casual warmth in his voice. It was fine." I looked at the food he was preparing, dumplings and fried fish, my favorite dishes. "I made dinner," he added, as if that wasn't already obvious. "Since I know you like these." I frowned. "How do you even know that?" Justin just smirked. "I have my ways." I scoffed, but didn't push further. Instead, I leaned against the counter, watching him work. There was something unsettling about how easily he settled in here, how natural it seemed for him to be cooking in my kitchen. A warm feeling spread through my chest before I could stop it. I wasn't used to this, to someone waiting for me at home, cooking a meal for me, caring for me. I'd spent most of my life alone. After my parents died in that car accident, everything changed. They had built a strong business, one that thrived through smart decisions and mutual trust with other companies, including Justin's family. Our families had once been close. Justin and I probably would have grown up as friends if things had gone differently. But when my uncle took over, he ruined everything. He made reckless decisions, took shortcuts, and let greed cloud his judgment. Under his leadership, Sterling Holdings started falling apart. Instead of fixing his mistakes, he blamed everyone else, especially Titan Corp. That's how the so-called rivalry between our companies started. But honestly, that had nothing to do with me. I left that family the moment I turned 18. My uncle and aunt took over everything, leaving me with nothing. I had to build my own life, work my way up from scratch. It wasn't easy, but I made it. Still, I never had a place that felt like home. I never had someone waiting for me. And now Justin, of all people, was here. Trying to shake off that unfamiliar warmth, I cleared my throat. "Why are you still here?" Justin glanced at me, unfazed. "Isn't it obvious?" He plated the food, setting it on the table before turning back to me. "I already told you this morning. I'm going to pursue you." He leaned against the counter, smirking. "And what's better than winning your heart with a delicious meal?" I sighed. There was no reasoning with this guy. After freshening up, I reluctantly sat at the table. The food smelled incredible, and despite my attempts to act indifferent, I couldn't deny how tempting it looked. Justin watched me with anticipation as I took the first bite. Damn, it was good. I tried to eat at a normal pace, but before I knew it, I had cleaned my plate. When I finally looked up, Justin was grinning. "How was it?" he asked. I swallowed my pride. "It was good." His eyes lit up like I'd just given him the best compliment of his life. "Then I'll cook for you every day." I nearly choked on my water. "What?" Justin tilted his head. "If you'll let me." I had no idea how to respond to that, so I changed the subject. "About the business partnership. Why did you choose our company?" He shrugged. "I've always been interested." I narrowed my eyes. "Then why now?" Justin smirked. "Well, before, our families were at odds, so I held back." He leaned closer. "But now that we're dating, I figured it was the perfect time." I froze. "Dating?" He looked at me like I was the one being ridiculous. "Obviously." I scoffed. "Since when?" Justin rested his chin on his hand, looking amused. "What else do you think we're doing? Do you really think I'd cook for just anyone?" This guy was unbelievable. But as much as I wanted to argue, I couldn't ignore the way this moment felt. Oddly nice. Having dinner together, talking like this, it was new, but not unpleasant. I hated to admit it, but maybe, just maybe, this side of Justin wasn't so bad. The apartment was quiet after dinner, the only sounds being the soft clinking of dishes as I rinsed them in the sink. I could feel Justin's presence behind me, leaning against the counter, watching me. His gaze was heavy, not with mockery or challenge, but with something deeper. Something I wasn't ready to name. "You don't have to clean up, you know," he said, voice lighter than I expected. I scoffed. "You cooked, I clean." "That's fair." Justin hummed in response, but didn't move. I kept my focus on the dishes, pretending his presence wasn't making the air feel different. Warmer. Charged. It had been like this ever since dinner, ever since his ridiculous statement about us dating. But was it ridiculous? I swallowed and shook the thought away. Once I was done, I wiped my hands and turned to leave the kitchen, but Justin was still standing there, blocking the way. His arms were crossed, but there was something softer in his expression, something hesitant. I sighed. "Move." He didn't. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, studying me like he was searching for something. "Alan," he murmured. I frowned. "What?" His fingers brushed against my wrist, light but firm. "You never answered my question." "What question?" Justin took a step closer. "If we're not dating, then what are we doing?" My breath hitched. He was too close now, his scent wrapping around me, familiar but intoxicating in this quiet space. I could see the intensity in his eyes, the same look he had this morning when he told me he couldn't bear to see me with anyone else. And suddenly, I wasn't thinking about the years of rivalry, the stolen girlfriends, or the business competition. I was thinking about the way he had waited for me to come home. The way he had cooked for me. The way he had been looking at me all night, patient yet determined. I didn't have an answer. Justin didn't seem to need one. His fingers tightened around my wrist, pulling me closer until there was barely any space between us. His other hand lifted, fingers brushing along my jaw. tilting my face slightly upward. My pulse pounded. I should have pushed him away, should have scoffed or made some sarcastic remark. But I didn't. Because the truth was, I wanted to know what it would feel like. And then Justin kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't forceful. It was slow, deliberate, like he was giving me time to pull away. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself leaning in, my fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt as warmth spread through me. The moment stretched, deepened, his lips parting slightly, coaxing, drawing me further in. My mind was blank except for the feeling of his touch, the way his hand moved from my wrist to my waist, the way my body responded without hesitation. By the time we broke apart, I was breathless. So was he. Justin's forehead rested against mine, his grip firm but gentle. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, voice low, rough. I couldn't. I didn't want him to. Instead, I tightened my hold on his shirt and pulled him back in. That night, for the first time, I let myself stop fighting. For the first time, I let myself want him. And Justin? He made damn sure I knew he had always wanted me. If someone had told me a year ago that I would end up in a relationship with Justin, I would have laughed in their face. Hell, even now, sometimes I still found it funny. Unbelievable, even. Yet here we were, and despite everything, I had never been happier. Justin had always been a force of nature, relentless and determined. But now, instead of trying to compete with me or drive me insane, he used that determination to take care of me, love me, and damn, was he good at it. I never thought I needed someone to cook for me, to make sure I ate properly, to pull me close when I was overworking myself and whisper, "That's enough for today." I never thought I needed someone to look at me the way Justin did, as if I was the only thing in the world that mattered. But every single day, he proved me wrong. Then there was his family. The first time I met them, I had been wary. Not because I disliked them. I knew they had been close to my parents, but because I wasn't used to warmth like that. I wasn't used to being welcomed so easily, as if I had always belonged there. Justin's mother had hugged me the moment I walked through the door, his father had clapped me on the back and called me son, and his younger sister had practically dragged me around the house, already treating me like a brother. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. For the first time in years, I felt the warmth of a family again. It was something I had forgotten I even longed for, something I thought was lost forever. Yet, in Justin's home, in his arms, I found it again. His parents, however, weren't pleased when they learned about how my uncle and aunt had treated me after my parents' passing. They were ready to go after them right then and there. I had assured them it didn't matter anymore. I had moved on. But Justin wasn't the type to let things go so easily. And then, one day, I saw it. The news had been all over television. My uncle was being exposed for years of corruption, fraud, and mismanagement. It didn't take long before he was arrested, his downfall playing out in front of the whole world. But that wasn't all. Titan Corporation had taken over Sterling Holdings. I had always known Justin's company was powerful, but this? Even I hadn't expected it to be this swift, this ruthless. I had stared at the screen in shock, watching as my uncle's empire crumbled right before my eyes. And then it hit me. The company my parents had built, the one that had been stolen from me, was finally back in my hands. Justin had done this for me. I turned to him, my heart hammering in my chest. "You," he smirked. "I told you I take care of what's mine." I swallowed hard, unable to stop the wave of emotions crashing over me. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about him giving me back a part of my life I thought I had lost forever. I had no words, no way to thank him properly. So I pulled him in and kissed him. Hard. That year had been the best of my life, and it only got better. On New Year's Eve, Justin took me out on a date. Nothing too extravagant, just the two of us, walking along the riverside as fireworks exploded in the sky above. It was peaceful, beautiful. And then, just as the clock struck midnight, Justin suddenly turned to me, dropping down on one knee. My breath caught. He pulled out a ring, his expression serious yet soft. "Alan," he said, his voice steady, unwavering. "I've been chasing after you for years, and I'm never going to stop. So, will you finally let me catch you?" I didn't even hesitate. "Yes." And as I pulled him up, pressing my lips against his, the fireworks above weren't the only things that lit up the night. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just happy. I was home.